All right. How's everybody doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
Good, good, good. Feeling good?
Glad to be here.
Yes. Awesome. Let's let me see. If you guys don't mind just tweeting the room out really quick so we could get anybody that's following us that might be interested in hopping in. And then I think we'll just get started. Takes a little while for these rooms to fill up. You guys know how it goes. All right, so let's uh let's introduce ourselves, right? We don't all know each other. I know I've been talking to you ladies all the last few days. So, Amy, why don't you go ahead and start us off here and let us know a little bit about your role in Web3 as far as what you're involved in, anything that you might have going on, and anything else that you think kind of just fits with the topic.
Yeah, so I come from a tech and IT background primarily, focused in healthcare. When it comes to Web3 for me, I've been doing a lot of education and um, consulting work with projects and also with um, individual artists, and also educating a lot of people about cybersecurity and how to keep yourself safe in a Web3 digital world. Moving forward, I've got a podcast coming out in the next few weeks, and I'll also be bringing a bit more education into the space as I can as well.
Awesome, awesome. Leslie, how you doing?
Hello, I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
Good, good, good. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you got going on, and your role in Web3.
Um, so actually, I have two generative projects going on. One drops on the 28th of March, and the other one I'm still doing. And I'm like really excited about it. So I can't wait to actually like officially talk about the one that's dropping on the 28th. But I just want everybody to stay tuned because it's such a good project, and we're helping out like 6 different countries. So um, I'm really, really excited about it.
Awesome, awesome. Devour, what's up? How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. Basically, what I do in Web3, I was kind of led here by one of my best friends, who she has a pretty big platform in this space. And I'm like a traditional abstract surrealist artist, and so I would do like oil paintings for like 20 something years, which is very hard to kind of get into that, that space to get your name as an artist. So she kind of told me about NFTs and about how I could like share my work with people, and so that's basically what I've been doing, is just um, sharing my art and learning from other artists in this space.
Awesome, awesome. So I wanted to ask Leslie and Devour, as artists, were your projects that you currently have right now or that you are working on, where are they at? Are they on Ethereum blockchain, Solana? Like where is your art at?
Um, my art is on Ethereum and Tezos. That's the only two that I pretty much use. Although I don't really, over the past few months, I haven't really had any luck on Ethereum. I mainly had more luck with Tezos blockchain.
Leslie?
Mine is on Ethereum, but I'm not sure with the other two projects. They didn't tell me yet because it's a team of us, so no one's explained that part. but I think it's on Ethereum.
Awesome. Okay, and then that's good. I like that little diversity of where the projects can be found. I mean, I recently just kind of got into NFCs not too long ago. I want to say in November, and I started in Ethereum and kind of getting into some other ones with Solana, looking at Tezos, and it's interesting to find different types of art, and everybody thinks everybody's on Ethereum, but it's definitely not true. Not everybody's on OpenSea. There's so much great art everywhere else, and it's good to hear that you guys got a little bit of a couple different places there. Uh, Amy, I want to start with you. I want to know what's your history with cryptocurrency? Are you involved at all? Have you invested in any? Do you have any favorites? Anything you're looking at right now?
Yeah, so I've been invested in crypto since 2012. I used to actually mine Bitcoin right in the beginning. Um, so I've been doing crypto trading and day trading and long-term holds on and off since 2012. Um, I started getting a bit more into alternative coins in the last 2 or 3 years, and I currently hold like your stock standards like Ethereum and some Binance Smart Chain related currencies. At the moment, I'm really interested in looks. It's been having a nice run up. Same with wool. That's linked to the Wolf game that is going to be re-releasing soon. So there's a couple of things like that. I also like holding. I've got like VeChain, VET. So those sort of things, I have them because I like the projects and the ideas behind them more than anything. And yeah, I have some other little holds which put on a little bet, see what happens. If the gamble pays off, great. If not, well, you know, you've only put in a little bit there. So I try not to put in too much if I'm not sure or really behind the team.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to take a gamble on a couple of the new ones for sure, and any altcoins that we might not be too familiar. That's definitely something I've learned along the way. Leslie, what's up? You into crypto at all? What are you invested in? What are you looking at?
Um, Actually, I had a little bit in crypto, and then I have majority like in stocks and stuff, but I actually took it all out. I think my main goal right now is to drop these projects, and some of the money that I get back, I want to help out my friends because I see a lot of good projects that I want to invest in. Um, I think that's where all my money is going, honestly, is drop because people don't understand when you get into the space. Uh, it costs a little bit to get into the space. So I think that's where my focus is to keep it honest. Um, but eventually down the line, I'll dump some money into like Bitcoin and stuff.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Definitely good to try to help people get in any way that we possibly can. Devour, what you got going on? Any crypto you're invested in? Anything you're looking at?
Actually, me and my partner, we had invested in it like a few years ago when it wasn't doing so great, and we actually pulled it out, which I could kick myself for doing that now. But currently, just what everything that I get from the proceeds I get from my art, especially Tezos, I always try to give back to the community and buy projects from like my friends and people that have really great talent. Just because when I first started in this space, one of my friends, she got me started by giving me some Tezos to mint my first piece. So I actually did the same thing for one of my other friends to start them off on the object platform. I sent them like 2 or 3 Tezos just to be able to get them started. So just kind of paying it forward and just give back to the community with it.
Awesome. So I'm glad you guys mentioned helping people get started and things like that. I think it's important to kind of spread that knowledge or whatever edge we might have, whatever advantage we might have when we're getting into Web3. I think it's not easy. So I want to get into something else. Let's talk about onboarding. What's your experience been with onboarding people, whether they're friends or maybe even collectors of your art? or somebody that you know that's interested. And I wanted to start with Amy. I know you do a little consulting in the space. What's your experience been with onboarding people, and what would you say to anybody that's starting to get started in either NFTs or cryptocurrency?
Absolutely. Coming to spaces like these and really any spaces is a really good starting point. We actually, a couple of months ago, I put out a NFT 101 course with Lucas Bean, where we kind of went over the absolute, basic essentials you need to know and about the platforms and things like that. And obviously, with how the space moves, it's probably overdue for a bit of an update. But that's been a really good one. I found that it's been really easy to onboard people because they've seen, I've often either purchased someone's first NFT and gifted it to them, or gifted them some ETH so that they can go and make a purchase themselves. That's been really fun. That's a way to, I think, is the easiest way to get someone onboarded. You get them to set up their wallet, and you can walk them through how to do it, but get them to take care of their seed phrases and all that sort of thing. And then from there, you can just, give them something so they can see what's happening. It doesn't have to be, some really expensive piece. Like for one of my friends, I purchased, I've got a lot of Tezos artwork that I collect myself. And so like I'll see something and I'll purchase it knowing that I'm going to give it to one of my friends because I've bought it with them in mind because I know their taste. So, it's things like that. And it's the same on Ethereum sometimes, or even on Matic. Like I'll purchase items that I know one of my friends would like, and when they're ready for onboarding, that's kind of how I do it.
Nice. And you mentioned seed phrases and security in that sense. And it just kind of makes me think of, I guess some of the things to kind of look out for when you get into the space. And one thing that personally kind of just bothers me and kind of, worries me sometimes, especially with something like Web3, and what it's supposed to represent are the people that kind of, are there to take advantage of others and kind of lead them the wrong way or just get what they can out of it. That kind of concerns me. And I kind of want to know what you thought of that as far as, especially in the consulting sense of it. Have you came across people like that maybe have tried to work with you or have tried to get you to back a project or anything like that?
Yeah, pretty much every day I've got someone asking me to promote their project, and it's hard. You've got to do your due diligence, and I don't promote anything I'm not invested in. In all honesty, I don't go out and, pump something. I'll go and find, if I like something, I'll go and buy something. And, sometimes I'll purchase things that I see come up, but most of my purchases are things that I've researched myself or other people have suggested to me. And then I've gone and done my research first. But I am very concerned about, there's a lot of people coming into space and a lot of people who I think are trying to come across as genuine, but they're just not there. They aren't genuine people. They aren't planning on doing what they plan, like what they're stating. A lot of people are here just for a cash grab. And it makes me really sad because there's some amazing artists, like people we've got in this room I can see down here and up on this panel. And, it's not fair to those people who are actual genuine artists. And it does paint the space with some really bad brushes. I even saw today Dave Ramsey, who's huge. If anyone outside of America doesn't know who that is, he's basically a talk show host who talks about finances, and he was just ripping on NFTs and the metaverse and everything today. And that was really hard because all these people are jumping in and kind of backing him in the comments, and it just shows that there's no understanding there of NFTs and what Web3 is trying to do. And we have a long way to go in educating these really, I'd call them Web 1 thinkers, or even earlier. They're all still wanting to pay in like checks and cash, and we're all dealing in next level algorithms. So yeah.
That's kind of funny to think of them as web one thing, because I never really saw it like that. But yeah, I guess it is like that though, because I don't know, Web3 and I mean you just figure something as simple as making a purchase. You're purchasing some art, and to do it with a wallet that's digital and you're sending digital currency to each other. That's got to be really scary for somebody that has no idea what we're doing. And it's like everyday stuff to us, but to everybody else is like I've had conversations with people where I'm talking to them and they freak out because they have to start a wallet or something, or even start, like, let's say like a Coinbase account, something basic, and they gotta scan their ID. or add their social security number, and they're just like, oh my God, what am I doing? What is this? And I'm like, you did the same thing when you opened a bank account, man. I mean, you gave them your ID and your social security, and it's really the same thing. I mean, you got to have some sort of connection to you so people know it's you. There's not this, conspiracy going on all the time, or this big like new world order like ideology about Web3. I think a lot of people have that. It's kind of strange to me, but I kind of understand it at the same time though, and I think that's something we definitely have to be conscious of, especially when we're onboarding people. Devour, as an artist, I wanted to go to you about onboarding people. What's that been like? Have you onboarded anybody that's specifically going to buy your art, and what's that experience been like, and have you had any bad experiences with that?
I haven't really onboarded anyone. I've gotten like early artists come to me and ask me questions as far as like about different platforms. Like Ethereum artists ask me about Tezos platforms, about how does that work? Is there a gas fee and things like that. Um, but that's as far as it goes for like onboarding. I just try to like when I first started, my best friend, she helped me, like she sent me like a guide and like all kinds of information, and then she invited me to a Discord, and it's a lot of information. It's super overwhelming. Like when you first, I'm still overwhelmed. I still don't understand like 95% of the terminology in this space. I'm always like tweeting like, what does this mean? Or how do I do this? Um, but yeah, I think it's just like, it's forever. Just like for me anyway, huge learning curve.
Yeah, 100%. I see that for sure. I'm still definitely learning, and I think I have a long way to go before I get everything that I kind of want to get understood from this space. Leslie, you mentioned onboarding friends and kind of looking out for them. What's your experience been like, and like, what does it mean to you to onboard people into Web3?
Wait, I don't think I haven't onboarded personally. I think what I meant by the statements I was talking about earlier about getting money and my friends who are already in the space supporting them. But like as far as me personally onboarding, I haven't. And the people who buy my physical pieces, my collectors, I just keep it kind of separate. I don't want to force anybody to do things they don't want to do, and it might be a little confusing. Like I was supposed to sell this piece to somebody, so I said that I was going to gift them the NFT for authentication purposes. But I mean, I just want to give people the option. I don't want to lean too much towards an NFT in order for somebody to buy something from me. Like I'm kind of open. I don't know how anybody else feels about that.
No, yeah, that's definitely understood. I think you got to be open when you're doing this, and helping, whether it's just helping people by either collecting or, like you mentioned, and I'm sorry I misunderstood what we mentioned earlier, but helping people by just even being a collector, I think is a big deal. That's definitely something I've done. The first thing that caught my eye with anything that I've collected is definitely the art. And I understand a lot of people I've spoke with, they're, they've kind of told me like, oh, what, why are you getting just the art? Like you got to look at, the community in the Discord and see what they're doing to see if this project has a good roadmap and what you're going to make money off of and this and that. And that's fine. I mean, not to say I don't want to make money off what I'm collecting, but honestly, it's just truly about the art to me. I'm just a fan of art. So it's like, I'm definitely out here getting art that I like. And then if it all falls in place, sure. Definitely don't want to just spend money and on something that's worthless. That's for sure. So I'm trying to be as weary as I can, as aware as I can. But, definitely looking at the art first. So that's dope. That's what's up. I want to get a little deeper in the conversation, especially as women. I really want to hear your perspective. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say, because honestly, like one of my main reasons for even doing something like this is because I'm a father of 4 daughters. And I think for them to be educated in this space is major. It's very important to me, because I truly feel like it's the future, or at least the future of, the near future of what the next thing might be after this. And it's a big step in that. And one thing that worries me is that all the stuff we've kind of just dealt, period, in anything, especially with our experiences in the Web 2 era, the Web 1 era, and just in our lives in general, is that people that don't have access to things like Web 3 and having the money to buy an NFT and having, the money to buy cryptocurrency, or having the knowledge or information or relationships or friends to help them get started, I feel like that's easily getting into Web 3. And that's a major concern of mine. So, especially as women, I know you guys deal with a lot of stuff that I personally don't have to deal with. And honestly, I think that's terrible. Because like I said, as a father of four girls, I think about that all the time. And I don't want them to deal with those type of things. I really want to get your perspective on that and what you feel you can do about it, what you feel should be done about it, and what you're doing about it. Let's start with Amy.
Yeah, like there's a lot of things that I don't think guys realize that we go through on the internet. Or maybe they do because they're the ones who they do it themselves to other people. But it does get quite hard out there. I do find from the education standpoint, having these sort of spaces where you can open up and speak to other women who are in the space and share your experiences really does help. There's some really great women focused spaces out there. I know I check in with like Made by Sunny and Judah Arts quite regularly from the Lazy Lions crew. They do great spaces at least once a week, and you can go in there and actually have a chance to ask your questions. And I find it's a lot more open than some of the male dominated spaces where you can't actually get a word in edgewise if you can get let up to speak at all. But it's having a space where people can come and ask their questions anytime, and I try to make sure that I answer every DM I get a lot of DMs every day, and whether it's I'll always try and focus on the ones which are looks like new people coming to the space with genuine questions. And sometimes if it's something that I think could be beneficial to others, I'll go out and do a tweet about it so that everyone can kind of pick up that sort of knowledge and try and share it. But it's just trying to provide a safe space for people to come and speak, whether male, female, non-binary, make it a safe space for everybody. I think Web3 and the internet shouldn't be, limited to, oh look, we're women in Web3. It should just be, we're all people here. And that should be more of the focus, especially as we move into metaverses and things like that. Gender shouldn't really be that hallmark anymore. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit naive because I've been a woman high up in IT for more than 10 years. But it's the same with collecting. Like, I don't collect art because it's done by a woman. I collect art because I like the art and the artist and their story. I don't care if you're male, female, anything. It's, I want your artwork to tell me a story, or you to tell me a story that relates to your artwork.
I agree with that 100%. I don't think it should be important. And honestly, as someone that wanted to put this space together, I just kind of thought like, women in Web3. I'm like, oh man, I what am I gonna, what am I gonna do? This is definitely a topic I want to touch, but what am I going to do? How am I going to approach? And I just like, you just have to approach it like what it is, right? And I think it's kind of unfortunate sometimes because you're right. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. It's not about, a man, woman, but unfortunately it kind of is. And I think that's really the main reason that made me say, hey, let's just do this and let's talk about it. Let's get everybody opened up to the ideas and to the notions of it not being that important, and also giving some more respect to just everybody in general. I think as women, you're just so important to push that, to push that idea, whether it's racism, whether it's machismo, in the Latino community. That's what we use as a term for, men that just want to be the tough guy, want to be the man, and constantly, just say that this is what it is, and those are things I've always kind of felt they just weren't cool to me at all, ever, from a child to now. And I think that's why, women are so important in any space that we're doing anything new and pushing something forward. And you're very important to it. So that's definitely why I wanted to do this. And Leslie, I wanted to ask you about that as well. What are you thinking about that as a woman? How how do you feel your role is gonna affect things, and how important is it, and how do you feel about it? Like, what are you thinking?
Well, my experience so far is, I think, of course, there will be some people that kind of, bullshit you, or they will virtue signal a little bit. So they'll kind of like use your art to talk to you, or use whatever you're doing in the NFT space to talk to you, which is kind of annoying because, you want to be taken serious. But if I was a man, you wouldn't do that to me. Um, I've had people ask bet, which is just, it's kind of annoying, to be honest with you. So when will people take women serious in the space? I mean, shit, I think that's with anything. We live in this predominant, the physical realm. It's a man's world. And in the spiritual realm, it's women who run everything. So I think we're always going to run into those problems. And I think that at the end of the day, what's for you will never really truly miss you. So, I mean, we could talk about the pros and cons, but I think, as long as you keep your head up and you have a mission, like my mission for doing art is to raise awareness for sex trafficking and abuse. Now, will everybody take me serious on it? I highly doubt it. But the ones who get it and listen, they get it. And I think it just takes time. I think we're all in this space, as women, and shit, the most we can do is really just genuinely support each other, and make sure that the support that we show each other is genuine. You know what I'm saying? The space is, it's, you just gotta be careful. And that's just my honest opinion.
Yes, 100% agree with that. That's good. Great point. Devour, where's your mindset on this? What are you thinking? What's your experience has been like? How does it feel for you?
My experience in this space, I mean, I've had a lot of support, fortunately. I've only been in the space for like 6 months, and luckily I've found like a great group of people that support me and encourage me. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have to have for women, is to just be supportive and be encouraging, just because this space is very male dominated. I mean, it's every time I look at my Twitter, like majority of it's guys. And it would be great for at some point, for just like Amy said, as far as like it not being a gender thing, it just being like just art, not have anything to do with male art or female art or her or his, just art in general, and just appreciating it for what it is and not because of the gender that's attached to it.
Yes, definitely. I come from a hip hop background. I've been an artist for over 20 years, and one thing that any female MC that I always came across, which is a MC, a rapper, master of ceremony, right? Um, they would always say like, "I hate when you guys call us female MCs." And I was like, man, yeah, I would hate to be called a male MC. It kind of honestly sounds a little silly. Like, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm an artist. I'm an artist, period. And I don't think anything else should be attached to my art besides what you're getting as art, whether it's visual art, it's music. I'm a dancer, whatever it may be. I think I'm the art. That's it. And I'm not anything else. If you know me on a personal level, I could be 100 other things, but when it comes to the art, I think that's all you should be focused on is the art. And I think that's extremely important to not attach all these other labels to when we're dealing with art and everything. And Web3, I think in general, because I think the art is such a big factor in Web3. I think the NFTs are pushing Web3 in a major way, and opening people's minds to the idea and the possibilities of what it could be and what it could mean. And I wanted to ask you ladies about that as well. Speaking about Web3 and the art and what it could bring, what is the metaverse like? What do you guys know about it personally? Like, just I want to get a quick little definition from you each, and then just let me know what you guys think about it. Like, what ideas do you have for it? And like, if you were to have, let's say, property in Sandbox, like, what would you do with that? Anybody?
I love the metaverse. I've spent a fair bit of time in Decentraland and attending a couple of different events in them. If I had land, and this is something I've always wanted to do, whether it was Decentraland or Sandbox or any of them, I wanted to open galleries and also do sort of bring like spaces into the metaverse as well. Have them so we can, have our avatars kind of there on the screen. There's lots of different things that you could be able to do through these sandbox. A lot of the jobs that we have now, like even realistically, my job could be done through the metaverse quite easily. You're going to see healthcare moving into the metaverse very, very soon. There's a lot of people don't realize that it's already in place. Web3 is like healthcare is shifting towards a Web3 focus because of a lot of reasons. So there's a lot of things that are really thought of as not going to be adaptable to Web3, which are going to be jumping over to Web3 really quick.
Yes, yes, yes. Anybody else? Leslie, Devour?
I was gonna say, let me think about that.
Okay, okay. I feel you. Devour, Metaverse. What's up? What do you think about it?
I think I've attended a few like galleries and like some like parties. I haven't really had that much experience in it, to be honest. I'm really interested in like all the possibilities that will come from it. Is one thing that I'm really excited about. I mean, just the fact that you can have like galleries and like have art openings and stuff and invite people to it and they can see your work and everything is like mind blowing to me. And I love that because coming from being a traditional artist, that's really hard to do when you have like physical paintings and you're trying to go to these galleries, you're trying to get your name out there and they, turn you down, they don't want your work. And then you have this kind of space where you're actually able to like have something like this and it's like, like tangible and people can see your work is an amazing opportunity.
Yes, 100%. And I think it all comes back to me from just being a kid, and it's like a game, right? When I think of the metaverse, I think everything is kind of like a game, and it reminds me of like what NFTs first, have what they've been doing to me when what they first did to me when I first kind of really got into them. It just kind of brings that childlike feeling along with it because you're collecting something and it's I don't know, you're making new friends, you're making new connections, new relationships, and you're having fun. Like I'm having a blast collecting NFTs. Like I'm thinking about releasing music as an NFT, but I haven't even thought about that more than I've thought about the NFTs that I have. Like I don't think I've opened my gallery to look at my NFTs more than I've done anything else. Like that's the thing I've done the most is just stare at my NFTs and just look at them in awe. Like I'm just so excited to be like, wow, I'm an art collector in the digital space, and it's like I don't know, it's just so much fun to me. It's kind of funny at the same time to think about it like that, but it's truly what it is. It's brought so much joy to me. It's crazy. I love it.
There's so many people who wouldn't ever have a chance to become an art collector in the typical sense that can come in here and absolutely, put in their money and they can get a lot more out of it. Like I started in NFTs with like $400-500, which I thought at the time was an absolutely huge investment. Now, like my portfolios are quite diverse, so I've been quite lucky with some of the items that I've chosen have taken off really well, and then I have pieces that I don't know if there is a number that's high enough that I would sell pieces anyway, and they're smaller artists that I'm actually intrinsically linked to because of their story and getting to know them over time. But yeah, that's the best part is like I love it. I go on and I use an app called Floor, which is an NFT based app. And I'm in there every day, and it's not even necessarily looking at what the price is for the things. I go in and actually look at my pieces of art, and I'll save them and I send them to people, and you know, I can be like, hey, look at my piece that I have. This is one of my favorites, and I can send them it, and they can, I try and get them to understand why I'm so passionate about this.
Yes, definitely. I wanna reset the room really quick before I move on to my next question. And I also wanted to mention, if anybody wants to speak, please send in your request. I'll be bringing some people up shortly after we go through a couple more questions and proceed with the conversation. So please send in any request if you have any questions, you have something on your mind that you want to speak about. The only thing I ask is that we please do not talk about any projects. We don't want anybody shilling right now. We just want to kind of flow with the conversation that we're having here. So just please go ahead and send those requests if you have any. And I wanted to kind of just say, we're here. We're talking with Amy Stroud, Leslie Cruz, Devour, and we're just talking about art. We got collectors here. We have artists here. We have consultants. Myself, I'm a collector, and just started a show to kind of make people aware of my process, because I'm considering myself somebody very new in the space, and I wanted to just educate any of those around me that are interested, that know nothing at all about Web3 or NFTs or the metaverse or cryptocurrency, and just kind of get them involved in any way I possibly could. As an educator, that's something that's very important to me and that I'm passionate about, is just to kind of spread that knowledge that I learn, is to push it on. So we're here just having a conversation, talking about good stuff, and definitely women in Web3 is something that's important to me, because, like I mentioned earlier, as a father of four, it's something that I want to definitely push, and I want to keep pushing those limits and breaking those stereotypes of what art should be, what Web3 should be, what people should be. So this right here is very important to me, and I'm happy to have you ladies join me. Wanted to jump back into Amy. You mentioned you made a couple of good investments that kind of helped you get beyond thinking that that 400 or 500 initial investment was kind of a big deal. I wanted to know what have you got that you had collected that's kind of made that big difference for you.
My first one was Lazy Lions. I also actually no, my first real big sale. I minted World of Women, and I sold that at I think 2 Ethereum. And I'm kicking myself now because I think they're about 6 today. So it doesn't, when you sell out, it doesn't always mean that it was at the right time to sell. For me, that it was the right time to sell. But yeah, so I had that, Lazy Lions. I'm still holding Robotos. I still hold Lazy Lions as well. Crypto Chicks, Floor. Yeah, I had the opportunity to get a Bored Ape around 1 ETH, and that was just too rich for my blood at the time. And yeah, definitely kicking myself on that one. There's a lot of them that I kick myself on for when I got out, or when I sold, or they sold unexpectedly. And yeah, I just kind of go, well, at that time, it was the right time for me to sell this piece, and try and let that go, because you can't, what's good. Sorry, a lot of people get really upset that, you're selling pieces and you don't know about someone's life. I don't have the ability to create art to sell or in any way. My art is technology. So I don't have the ability to generate an income in the same way as a lot of people in the space. So I use it. Sometimes I do flip some of these NFTs, but a lot of the time, most of my stuff's in there for at least 3 or 4 months, and it hits a point where I go, well, I can't say no to the money that's being offered to me now, and or life happens and I need money. I've been traveling around the States for nearly 4 months, and yeah, I've definitely hit a few times where I needed some cash to keep going. Get down to the last $50 in your wallet, and you're going, okay, well, where am I sleeping tonight? So, I think we all have our stories about why we sell out when we sell out, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think when you sell or when you buy should be anybody's decision but yours. Definitely. I mean, especially it's your money, it's your collection, your art, whatever, however you want to look at it. So I definitely agree with that. But wow, that one ETH board ape. Ugh, I almost cried when you said that. Like, oh my goodness, I don't even know how you're dealing with that. That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, that would have been life changing. Especially because there was quite a few of them available. I was like, oh yeah, they're like, I'm like, are they really going to take off? Like 1 ETH seems like a lot. Now, yeah, hindsight's 2020, I guess. So, you know, you try and find the next. Everyone's trying to find the next thing to go off. For me, I just try and find something that I like, and I like the crew behind it and what they're trying to achieve.
100%. You know what? And it makes me think of like probably the worst decision I ever made was to not buy cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin, when I first saw it and was like I think like under $1,000, and I didn't buy it till it was like maybe like 1,200, and I didn't really hold any of it. I was kind of just using it to buy altcoins. Never held any Bitcoin at that price, and that's definitely something that to this day just it's almost like a nightmare to me because I think if I would have held to any of it because I didn't buy one whole Bitcoin. I just was buying fractions, and if I held any of it right now without moving it, I think my life would be a little different right now.
Yeah, I used to mine it, so I sold a lot of it below 1,000. So yeah, I feel the feel the same way.
My goodness. Devour, have you collected anything that stands out to you that you're just like holding on to or that you've sold that's made a big difference for you?
Um, I don't really. I mean, when I first started, I didn't really know what I was doing, and so when I saw things like, for instance, like uh Eddie Gangland, like his Gangland skulls. Like when I first saw those, I was like, oh, those are cool. And like the price at that moment, which was like 6 months ago, was like so low now to me. Back then I was like, oh, that's too much, you know. And now that I think about it, I'm like, I just want to kick myself because, you know, like he sells out and those things are like flipped all the time. So that's like I don't really have anything at the moment. Sometimes I'll like list some of my friends' stuff just because like I love the piece so much, and I'll list it secondary for really high just because if it sells, like it'll help them out. So it's like I want to be able to contribute to them kind of thing. But as far as like big projects or anything, like I don't really have anything at the moment.
Okay, okay. And how about from your own collection, your own art? Is there anything that you've sold that has just made a big difference for you, or that you were kind of surprised at what it sold at?
Yeah, I would probably say like my first mint that I did on Foundation, um, I was like kind of shocked that it sold within 24 hours because I had never used Foundation, and I know that it's kind of expensive because you pay the gas fees and everything up front. So I was like, well, I'm gonna list it. I think I listed it for like 0.15 ETH, and I was like, oh, this is never going to sell. And then like I got an email saying like, oh, your auction is started. And I was like, seriously? And then like it sold. So that was like one thing that was like, okay, this is crazy. It just kind of like really floored me that this NFTs is like it's a life changing thing. I mean, especially for me being an artist, I've always wanted my dream to like be able to live off of my art, and this is the kind of platform that hopefully one day I'll be able to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm sure that's a great experience to have that, and I hope it continues to happen to you to have that shock when you get something purchased. That's got to be an awesome feeling. Leslie, what's up? How's your experience been as an artist selling?
Well, I had just got in the space, like, I don't even remember, but then I had caught COVID, so it like detoured me, and then I think I minted my dragon piece like before the year ended. So like I sold my physical piece. It seems like I'm selling all my physical pieces, and then I forget to attach them to my NFT. So the only thing I've ever minted on is known origin, and I'm so grateful for that. But I don't know, man. I just every time I make a new piece, and right when I'm about to like mint it, someone someone buys the physical piece. So I don't know. I think one thing that artists should do is just mint and go. You know, it could be very stressful, and it could create a little bit of insecurity when you don't sell right away. So sometimes it takes time. Like I know somebody who minted something and then like 7 months later he got it sold. So I mean, I don't know. It's just I think it's funny for me personally. Like my experience has been super funny, but with the team and everybody that I met and who I know in the space from the art bezel, um, I think this year, as far as like NFT projects for me, is about to be super fucking amazing. So I'm just excited to be here, to be honest with you.
Hell yeah, that's what's up. I'm excited for you, definitely. Um, I think it's just great, and I'm excited to just be supporting artists because one thing, like I said, I've been in the music business for over 20 years, independently recording music and releasing. And one thing I always loved was visual art, and I always wanted to do it ever since I was a kid, and I was never able to. I just didn't have the talent for it. It's pretty bad. Like to this day, I'll be with my wife and kids, and we'll play like some game online or something where you're drawing, and I'm literally the worst one. Like my 9-year-olds, they're like, "Dad, you're pretty bad. Like that's supposed to be a dog. That doesn't look like a dog." So for me to be collecting art and supporting artists is just is dope to me. I've always loved it. I've always done it. I have a lot of physical pieces at home and t-shirts done by artists, whatever it may be that the artist does. I collect it. I definitely am a big fan of visual art, and I know it's got to be exciting for you, and I'm excited for you guys. Definitely, it's very dope to be part of that with you. I do see that we have a request here from Bullish. I'm gonna bring you up. If you could introduce yourself, let us know what's on your mind. If you have a question for anybody or anything that you want to say, please go ahead. Bullish, you there?
Oh, sorry. I think I got rugged. I had problems connecting. Good evening, everybody. Hello.
Hello.
So I was invited to the space. I just starting out. I'm actually a collector myself. I have an art background and major, but it's been a long time since I've actually physically drew something, painted something, created something. I will say it's nice to see artists actually being able to make money on resales of NFT and their physical pieces, or more in the NFT space, because physical, once it's sold once, the artist doesn't make anything really, unfortunately. So this is definitely, I think, another reason why NFTs are taking off. It's changing so quickly. I'm still learning a lot. I do have a question for anybody who's actually I've never sold any of my NFTs yet, but I don't know what kind of strategy I should or maybe take. I'm not going to I have 2 alpha girls clubs. I'm not going to sell those yet. I'm just going to hang tight on those. But how would you recommend um when the best time selling your NFT? It can be you, an artist, or your own personal NFT.
Anybody want to grab that one? I definitely don't have any experience selling an NFT. Amy, maybe you as a consultant or Devour, you've sold.
Yeah, it cut out for me during that actual question. So was the question when is the best time to sell, or?
Bullish, yeah, it did kind of cut off a little bit. Was that your actual question?
Oh, I'm
When was
sorry.
the best time to sell?
So, or how would you recommend thinking about like posting, selling where to sell? Like, should you use two different sites to sell? Like, I'm just curious because I haven't sold one NFT yet. I'm at the point where I need to uh reinvest my investments. If like, try to sell
Yeah.
one at least and then to buy new NFTs.
Okay, so I think it's really important to have yourself available on lots of different platforms. You're giving yourself more exposure, but don't have the same pieces on the different platforms because obviously then they're not really one of ones anymore. So you'll find, and maybe someone can, if I'm wrong here, I find I purchase different artwork on different platforms. So if I'm looking for classical classical art, or if I'm looking for photography, I kind of go more foundation. If I'm looking for something a bit more, I want to say punk, I go to the Tezos network.
Right.
I don't know, maybe that's not the right word, but that's kind of how I think of it. Like I see like one of the pieces I've got, it's like a knockoff
Cooler
of like the
art
Aha
canvas.
Take On Me sort of like style, and I friggin' love it. It's one of my favorite pieces. So like things like that. Putting different types of artwork in different places and just try it. Put one or two pieces up and see what bites. With regards to
Okay.
promoting it for yourself and sharing it, share the picture with no link and have your links working on your bio. Because the second you put a link on a tweet, you're not going to get anyone looking at it. It's just Twitter doesn't let you guide away from their algorithm.
Okay.
So you have to kind of engage in that way. Coming up into spaces, and as much as it sucks, chill spaces can work. So do go to them if you can, but tell a story, use a thread. You could actually do like a progress thread is really cool. There's some artists who do really great ones of them, and they'll show you how like their thought process and how it all goes along. You can, there's so many different ways to promote yourself. But I think, come up and share your story. Tell us more about yourself, and whether you want to do it in space, if you feel comfortable, great. If you're not comfortable to do that, do it through text and picture or whatever your medium is, but put it on Twitter and thread it up.
Okay.
Because that's that will reward you in the algorithm. And take it easy on your hashtags. No more than 3 hashtags.
Okay, good to know.
Otherwise, it just so many people do it. Like everyone goes in and they're like, oh, I'm just going to pick all the trending ones. No.
Be specific.
So
Got it.
do go with trending hashtags. Yeah, be specific. So like, well, you can go generic and just be like NFTs, NFT artist, NFT drop.
Okay.
Cool. Done. Or even tag some of them. Sometimes you can tag the platforms in there, and they might retweet it. Not always, but they might.
Okay.
So it's worth trying.
Oh, I really appreciate
reach out
that.
to some reach out to some of the people, I guess, who are considered influencers in the space, because they may just see your art and like, retweet it because they like it. You may not get a purchase from that person, but you might get a little bit more exposure. A retweet can sometimes make a big difference.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that advice. Thank you. Thank you.
Devour, as someone who's sold on Tezos, do you have anything for Bullish that you might want to add in?
Yeah. Whenever I start working on a piece, usually what I do is I'll put a hashtag, or I'll put like my whip or work in progress and take like a screenshot and show it like for over the course of a few days, and just put that just to create like buzz, or so people can see like from start to finish. And then whenever I post a new piece, I'll either do like, I'll show it when it's done and say, gonna drop this tomorrow at 5:00. There will be 10 editions for 3 Tezos each. And then like when the drop comes, like announce it again. And usually for me, I put the link in the comments, and like I'll put like see the link in the comments with like the emojis of the the hands pointing down, and just put the link in there. And that's worked for me for months, as far as not putting it directly into the first tweet, but in the comments it works. And also another good thing is, like, say you've had a piece for like a month or a few weeks, however long you want to wait to see how many people buy the editions of a piece. what I'll do is I'll burn mine and I will say, okay, I have 4 editions left. I'm going to be burning these tomorrow at 9 o'clock. I have 4 left. And that usually creates like a rapid response from other collectors, and I'll kind of sell out because of that.
So it gets them a little bit of FOMO going, and then you build a little bit of the
Yeah.
excitement and anticipation of
Yeah.
whenever you're deciding to drop something. That's awesome.
Yeah, and definitely like when I announce I'm gonna burn something, that definitely creates a lot of like, oh, let me get this. And I've had some people where they've actually like listed my stuff on secondary because it was the last edition left, and so they snagged it and then they listed it, for more.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
I see we have also Bipolar. Got something to say? Introduce yourself. You got a question?
Hi. I kind of wanted to touch on. So I've always been annoyed by the fact that we have to say waitress, actress. It's like you're an actor, you're a waiter. Why do we have to distinguish the gender with certain jobs? And I don't know if you guys know Fluffy Gabriel Iglesias. He's a Mexican comedian. And he said he was so sick and tired of always being introduced as the Latin comedian. And he remembered the first time he was introduced as a comedian without having to preface what he is. And like, I so much hate that. And when I listen in on groups sometimes, it'll be just a bunch of very, very bullish guys who are the only reason they're in the NFT space is to collect and flip for as high as they can, which is, that's fine, but it's also kind of annoying for other people who are legitimately, we're artists and we're not here just to flip our work. We want people to actually see our work. I'd much rather someone buy my work because they like it than buy my work because they think they can flip it. But my point really is just to bring it back to the subject of women. I just look forward to, well, I'm 50, so I probably won't see that day ever come, but I just look forward to that day where there's really not so much of a focus on gender. I mean, I'll never go away. That's fine, but it'd be awesome just to, I'm an actor. I'm not an actress. I'm a waiter. I'm not a waitress. This unnecessary gender, separation.
Yeah, I think the best way you can do it is kind of lead by example and be in these spaces and kind of go, okay, well, for me, I'm not a female IT and tech person. I'm just, I'm working in IT and I happen to be a female. It doesn't really matter. Like, the only people who realize that you're a female in the room are either the other females who are excited to see another female, or the guys who are just like, oh, well, I bet she doesn't know how to do her job, and then you just smoke them. So that's kind of always been my way of handling it. If someone thinks that I can't do something because I'm a female, then I prove them wrong by doing it anyway. And that's kind of been how I've done my whole career. That's how I treated, I'm the first person in my family to have gone to college and graduate school. And, I went to medical school for a couple of years, and it was just really unexpected that I would get that far. And I ended up just coming back to technology. So, I think that's really important, is to try and, lead by example where you can. And if you want to see some of these changes, then that's the change you see, is doing it yourself.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree.
Yes, definitely. And this, it's something that we brought up earlier, and I made a point to bring that out because honestly, just from my position, And I would really like, your opinion of everybody right now that's on as a speaker, not just my guest, but the two I've brought up recently. If you could just please give me some insight. I genuinely am ignorant to the fact that, not the fact, but genuinely ignorant to how to approach something like that. Because, like I said, it's important to me to focus on women in Web3 as this topic, for example, for today, as a father, as a husband. Um, but how can we show that and express that and highlight that without having to necessarily say it? If you guys have any input on that, any feedback on that, I would love to hear it.
I totally have to think about that for a couple minutes. But I promise you, in a couple minutes, I'll have my answer for you.
I'd love to hear it. Amy, Leslie, Devour, you guys have any insight for somebody like myself that definitely wants to highlight women or anybody that might be overlooked in any space, but at the same time not be kind of stereotypical or even corny at sometimes, right? To Because I kind of thought of it myself when I was like women in Web3. Like I mentioned earlier, like I was like, I'm not really digging like having to put that as the label, but then again, like it is what it is, right? And a lot of people are not gonna, you know, see it for what I want it to be if we don't focus on it like that. So if you have any insight on that, I'd love to hear it.
I think just be honest and own it. It's sometimes you do have to use those ways to get people in, is saying women in Web3, people will come to that. Women in AI, women in this, sometimes it needs to happen. But I think just supporting, whether it's women, it's, marginalized groups, and different races and everything like that. Sometimes you do have to use that label, as much as it sucks to be like, oh, okay, it's, Latino artists or Latinx artists. um, it's hard in that way. But I think the best thing you can do, and especially like you're saying that you're a dad to 4 girls, the best thing you can do is support them in whatever they want to do. And it's the same with your friends, the people that you get to get to meet through these spaces. Support them in however they need at that time, whether it's, you know, sitting there and letting them listen, or letting them share their art with you and show you what they're up to. Do that. You don't have to, not everything has to be some grand gesture in order to try and make everything okay and try and make up for the fact that women have been oppressed for years or anything like that. Like, we're not expecting to redo the suffragettes and things like that because we're in Web3 now. We're not going to have another round of something like that, and everyone's not going to be, doing massive digital bra burnings. But like, I think it's important, just speak to a person as a person and find out what they need. Like, for me, when people come and ask for help, if I'm not entirely sure what they're after, I'll just ask them. And they usually tell me what they need, and then you just do your best to accommodate them as you can within what you're able to do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yes. Um, Definitely love that feedback. And Bipolar, I wanted to mention too, you said, you brought up Fluffy and being introduced as a Latino artist and him not being very happy with that. That definitely stood out to me because I know what that's like, and I could definitely relate to that. And that's something I definitely never wanted to be attached to. I don't know, it's kind of strange for me because at the same time, I wanted to represent who I am always, but I always felt kind of like, I don't know, it was in a sense kind of almost disrespectful to be labeled as a Latino artist or something like that. So that definitely resonated with me.
Yeah, I think it's very offensive, honestly. Um, so I have bipolar, and bipolar is more of a personality trait than gender for me, or in my opinion. I know that men and women, we definitely have our differences, but for me, like, my bipolar is much more, says more about me than me being a woman does. And honestly, I think that collecting women without having that agenda being public is a really, really important, an important way to support us. Because, okay, so, when you're, let's just say you're holding an event and you're saying, okay, let me find the black artist, let me find the female artist, let me find the Latin artist. It's like they're picking you because they need to fill a slot, rather than picking you because you were truly the person you wanted to highlight. So yeah, it's fantastic to want to support a community, but sometimes it's better to keep your agenda silent. So somebody said, someone goes to your collection and says, he collects a lot of artwork from women. Why does he do that? Rather than, wow, look at all these artists. So sometimes, like, yeah, we want support, but when push comes to shove, we don't want support because we're women. We just want support because we're good artists, or because, whatever the reason is. So I think that sometimes it's better to be ambiguous or be anonymous. I like it when people know that when they look at my artwork, I like for them to know that I'm bipolar, because I think it tells them about my artwork. Me being a female doesn't really tell much about my artwork. So for me, the story behind being a female is not as important for me.
That's amazing. Like seriously, I love the way you put that. That's true, because yeah, like we talked about earlier. I truly feel like the art is the art, and that's it. Anything else that I am personally, I could be 20 different things to 20 different people. So all that stuff doesn't really matter when it comes to the art and when I'm presenting to you and what you see it as. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
Um, Leslie and Devour, I want to ask you, ladies, as artists, what are you looking forward to in this space? Leslie, I know you have a project that you're working on. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And I know you definitely mentioned there was a cause behind it. Like, tell us like why you chose that and what this project that you got coming up, what it is about and what it means to you.
Actually, I was asked to be a part of it. Um, I don't know. I'm gonna try to phrase it so I don't give it away. I'm actually gonna be in LA on March 28th because I'm speaking on a panel. Me and the person behind this project is. So just put it this way: the project is helping 6 different countries, um, and pretty much like it's gonna provide them electricity and things like that. Like for every such and such X, Y, and Z that's sold, it will be going to these countries. So that's the only thing I could say about that. And then the other generative project that I have, um, I was actually asked to do that one too. So it's a 10K project, and it's with a really good friend of mine who I've known for 11 years, and he is heavy in the space. And yeah, so that's as much as I could say. Um, and honestly, it's just have fucking fun with it. Really, I know there's a lot of talk that goes back and forth, like even from traditional artists to digital artists. I don't, how do I put this? Because there is a lot of talk about, oh, well, people do cash grabs. Well, I think that's always going to happen. I think as long as you have fun doing whatever you're going to be doing, I think that's all that counts, and that's all that really matters. Is it unfortunate, us as women, we might get tried more than men? Um, but we could fucking push it through, and we're always gonna make things shake, and we're always gonna make things happen. That's just what comes life, I guess, and it's just all about perspectives and how you put it. But yeah, that's all I could say about the projects. But other than that, just to have fun with your art and, don't get so caught up and feel bad for yourself if you didn't sell right away. Like, it doesn't justify your value, is what I'm trying to say. Everybody on this panel, everybody in the Twitter spaces, Clubhouse, whatever it is, I meet so many dope ass fucking artists every day, and there's so much room to shine. And that's what I think NFTs, or that's what this digital space is, right? So, I mean, it's kind of cool coming across all these people who we had no fucking idea that they were artists. And I think it's cool. That's all I got to say about that.
Love it, love it. Such and such XYZ. I like the way you put that. Like, I feel like that should be like a project title or something. That should be everybody's project title when they don't want to give too many details away. I love it. That's dope. Devour, what's up? What are you looking forward to with your work?
I'm just looking forward to just creating. Being a traditional artist, I would get stuck a lot as far as like painting, and it would take me like months to finish a piece just because it was almost painful for me to try to like finish it. And I don't know why, like I get in these like funks or something. But when I first started doing NFTs, I have bipolar too. And the best thing for me is just, when I started like drawing and stuff on my iPad and everything, I just kind of had like this, I don't know what you want to call it, epiphany or whatever. But I just, the creative juices just kind of started flowing. And I've been like drawing like almost every day since. I don't know what it was, or what's happening, but it's just been like amazing for me to kind of work out things in my head digitally, to be able to like mint it. And, whenever I do a piece, I always put like some type of description that's almost poetic to it, to how I'm feeling or what this piece is about. And it's almost like a kind of like a coping exercise for me when I do that. Um, so that's been my favorite thing, is just being able to like climb out of my artist block that I've had for a while, and just being able to like freely express myself creatively. And also, just I've met so many awesome people in this space. It's like unreal how many people I've met. So many relatable people I've met in the space than I've ever met in real life. So it's just, I mean, it's been 6 months. It feels like it's been 6 years, but it's been awesome.
Yeah, you're right. Definitely, I've met a lot of amazing people. It's pretty dope being just being in these spaces. Just being on Twitter in general has been a big shift in everything I've tried to learn and relationships I've been trying to build. So it's been awesome. Amy, I wanted to ask you from the kind of consulting and collecting end, what are you looking forward to? Is there anything that you're working on specifically that you want to discuss?
Right now, not so much. I'm just getting ready. Sorry. I've been taking a little bit of a break from Twitter for the last couple of weeks and kind of lining up everything else in the real world. So I'm getting ready to launch a podcast and start interviewing a few different groups of people, and some of the projects that I've seen that I think are really cool. But for me, I'm mostly looking forward to just getting back into spaces and using this time that I have to educate and trying to get the word out there, bring more people into NFTs as a whole. And that's kind of my aim for the next few months, is to see how we can onboard and help people who are trying to get into these spaces.
Awesome. And Bipolar, while we have you here on as a speaker, I know you're an artist as well. Do you want to tell us about what you're working on and anything that you have coming up?
The word project is weird for me, so I can't really say that I'm doing a project. So basically, I have over 100 pieces on OpenSea, and basically the way that I try to promote myself is my artwork is a direct reflection of my moods. So if you look at my different collections, you could think it was a different person. So I almost look at bipolar as having different person, like having a personality. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. Having multiple personalities, even though it's not the same, the artwork comes out kind of in that way. So it's what's important to me is not me, it's my artwork. My artwork speaks for me. And I eventually at some point would like to, whatever money I make, put back into the artist community with a focus on small artists that don't have like huge names or aren't doing PFPs, and mentally ill artists. So supporting their artwork. And so that's really it for me, is just sharing my work, sharing the as much as I can, show somebody what having bipolar is like. But really it's just me speaking, because that's what needs to come out of me. If I didn't have the people in my life that I love, art would be the only thing that I had. So I can't be myself. I can't be alive if I don't have my art. So really that's just the most important part, is just that I want my work to have a voice in this world.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. I do want to ask Amy, Leslie, and Devour, if you have any final words before we bounce out of here. Please give us anything that you want to share with everybody listening in, and we will wrap it up.
I'll quickly add, keep sharing your art, put it out there every day. Just because you aren't selling something straight away doesn't mean that it's not good art. It just doesn't mean it. So it just means that you haven't found the right buyer yet, and they are out there, and there's new people coming into the space all the time. And yeah, eventually you will find someone who connects with your art.
Yeah, totally what Amy said. Like, I got discouraged towards the beginning. And there's been many times, even recently, where I wanted to like give up. But just keep pushing through it, and just do it because you love to do it. Don't look at it as like, oh, I need to make a sale. Do it because of your passion for it and for the sake of creating and sharing your art. Put that behind it.
I would say it's a marathon, not a race. Like, so I don't think anybody needs to hurry up and go to the finish line. There's really no rush. If you're in this space, you know that the space changes tremendously, like from last year to this year, and it's only been a couple months since like the art vessel. And just take your time, really. It's just even inside the metaverse and outside the metaverse. I mean, shit, we're all still dealing with pandemic. We're all still on our spiritual journey. We're all still dealing and healing and coping with our own stuff. So I wouldn't take it too serious, you know. I will say that the space is a community-based thing, and I've met so many cool people in person and on Clubhouse because of it, and I'm having a blast, honestly. And you never know who you're meeting, like where it could get you, and I feel like that's the point, right? I want people who collect my art who actually know me and know my story. And with this space, you get a chance to actually do that. Like, people want to support you because they actually know you. It's not just like a random person. And it's just cool. It's very personable. But yeah, I just think, love and light.
Yes, great. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody listening in. Thank you to all my guest speakers. Thank you, B. Paula, for joining us. This has been awesome. I appreciate all the feedback and everything that you've shared with us, everything that we've all kind of have on our minds and just let out there. It's awesome to have spaces like this, and I truly appreciate your time. Please, anybody listening in or my guest, if there's any way that I could help you in any way possible, be involved in what you're doing, support you in any way, please reach out to me. I'm always here in any way that you need to contact me. And let's keep doing this thing. Let's keep supporting each other. Let's keep making great art. And let's keep pushing those boundaries too. Let's make it happen. Appreciate you guys. You guys all have a great night. I'm Visual. My guest, Amy Stroud, Leslie Cruz, Devour. We're out of here. Peace. Blessings. Hundreds of lessons, y'all.
Thanks, Visual.
Thank you again. Peace.